We'd agreed to meet in the library of Northwestern University at Chicago, where she was doing some research. Outside it was bitter cold and wet, and refuse from the New Year's celebration still mixed with the mud and the snow, but inside it was warm and pleasant. She was easy enough to identify from Oscar's description, and because she was the only woman there, I took off my hat and approached her. She stood and said, "Mr. Carter." I nodded. "Just Carter." "You must be Miss Voigt." "Susan, please," she said, and shook my hand like a man. I must have looked a little startled at the offer of familiarity, because she said, "As a courtesy to your friend Oscar, who has never even told me his patronymic, I think it's a small form of rebellion for him."
"It's more complicated than that, but I don't want to go into it. Oscar."
I nodded and suppressed a smile.
"Have you found accommodations?"
Her British accent was unmistakable, but some of its precision had been worn away by her stay in America. "Yes," I said, "the Briggs House. There are finer hotels here than I thought there would be. I imagine in the East we think of the West as more universally rustic than it is."
"But not more muddy,"
she said with a quirk of her lips and a glance at my boots.
"Please sit."
I did, matching her body language and expression. She relaxed a little. "I admire your work," I told her. "I've been reading your articles. Powerfully reasoned and passionate." She nodded.
"What is your involvement?"
"Less than yours. My work often brings me south of Mason-Dixon, especially to New Orleans. I do what I can to convince the overseers to be a bit less brutal. When I'm in the North, I interfere with the slave catchers." She shook her head.
"As long as the institution itself survives, such measures are quite nearly pointless."
"I agree," I said. I was a lot more effective in my meddling than she had any way of knowing, but she was still right. "The question is, can we succeed?"
"In ending slavery, not peacefully, I'm afraid. The slave power won't surrender without a fight."
"So you're gathering armies? If there's to be violence—"
"No."
"What then?"
"You've read my articles."
She reminded me a little of Oscar, always convinced that great events were just around the corner, in spite of all evidence to the contrary. Yet that comparison somehow made me like her. "You think John Fremont has a chance?" I asked.
"I don't know, but he's worth supporting. He's more easily elected than Seward or Chase, and wresting control of the federal government from the slave power is the next step."
I nodded. Oscar had convinced me of that much anyway. Free soil, free labor, free men, Fremont. If he wins the nomination, it'll make a good campaign slogan.
"You left out free speech. In the Deep South and in Kansas, it is illegal to suggest human beings ought not to be chattel. They can imprison you for saying it."
"If he's elected, they'll never let him take office."
"If they try to stop him, they'll rouse the whole North, even more if they attempt to secede."
I had severe doubts about the North's willingness to be roused. Too many of them were happy and satisfied. There had been no 48 on this side of the ocean because we Yankees didn't go in for that sort of thing. "The South will never secede," I said. "They'll just threaten until the North caves in again."
"Mr. Carter, in your letter, you said you wanted my advice. About what?"
"Where?" Her brows came together.
"Where what?"
"Where can I do the most good?" She hesitated. I could see what she saw, a frail-looking old man who might not survive anything rigorous. Then she almost nodded to herself and apparently decided that I had to make that decision myself.
"Kansas,"
she said. "I was afraid you'd say that."
"It isn't merely Kansas by itself, and whether it's free soil. Right now the fight for Kansas is the key to everything else. We can lose the battle and win the war, or win the battle and lose the war. Right there, in Kansas."
"Which means how we fight is as important as the result."
"More important."
"All right, then. I'll go."
"Good. The thing to remember is that it may take guns to protect yourselves, but guns aren't how we need to win this. We need to win the heart of the North."
"I know."
"Do you think you can convince the settlers of that?"
"We'll see," I said. "I can be very convincing."
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.